Well, friends, here we are again. Happy New Year, if I haven't already said that to you individually. We find ourselves in that interesting place again of lockdown. And there seems to be an interesting situation happening where the COVID speed has touched us as a county in ways we weren't expecting. Cumbria went from tier 2 to tier 4, and now we're hearing that our hospitals are really worried about being able to cope. Just looking at the different borough numbers is quite frightening when you look at them over the last couple of weeks. The speed with which they have gone up. Even us here in Copeland, who were kind of bragging a little bit that we hadn't got much of COVID at all, and now we're in the hundreds. That's the way things seem to be going. But at the same time, we've got the vaccine. Now we've got 2 vaccines going. They're now talking about increasing numbers as they open more centres, as they use the vaccine, which is easier to be able to put out at a lower temperature. And it leaves us into our thoughts, doesn't it? Brexit seems to have happened, is happening, and we're really not taking that much notice of it because there's so much else, and now we're locked down again. This is a time to think of those who you know, who you were helping last time we were locked down, who you were encouraging and talking to, who you were phoning or perhaps waving to, or talking down the garden at them at their front door. All those things that we can do and be sensible about it. I think now we've got to a point where we can't be anything else but sensible. And we need to be able to look after ourselves, look after those who are closest to us, but also be open to help those who are at a distance, who need perhaps an encouraging smile, a word, a hello. We'll see again more people going out for walks, I'm sure, though the temperature isn't quite the same as it was last March. But the need to get out and to walk is probably even more so. And I will just say this, if you are remembering people, remember hospital staff. They have been at this thing for maybe 10 months. And it hasn't stopped, and especially those who are in intensive care, those who are caring for COVID patients, this hasn't stopped for them, and they're struggling, some of them. Please think about them. Please be positive about them. If you have friends who work that way, talk to them, encourage them, thank them. We need to be, in the midst of all this pandemic, a thankful nation. And in our thankfulness, we also need to be thinking of those countries who are not so well off as us, and who will need our help when we can give it, who will need the vaccine and can't afford it. We're now looking at a society which, I read a report this morning, is getting the haves and have-nots even worse. But COVID has made that even worse, just looking at those who are going to food banks and are in need of those people who are helping out with food. Now is the time for us to decide that as things ease, and they will do, it is changing, but it will be a while before we'll see that. But when things are changed, we need to do things differently. We need, yes, to look after our environment. That is vital for everybody. But also we need to be looking after our neighbours, looking after everyone else. Remember Jesus, when he was asked who my neighbour is, gave a story and imposed, in a sense, a definition of neighbour, which was enemy. Love your enemies. They're your neighbours, just like everyone else. Love those people who are another part of the world and you don't normally care about them. Love them. Think of them through this pandemic, going through it without the kind of resources that we have. We need to get that vaccine out across the nations. That is vitally important. So please think about that and pray for one another as we move into this tier 5, and may we know God's blessing as a people. Keep safe.